Hi all, and welcome back to How to Write Your Personal Exercise Programme. I hope the other videos have helped you write your programme and plan your programme. This one's going to be on how to write your evaluation, so you can look at and reflect on what went well in your project, what could have gone better, and what you might do in the future. Right, let's go. So part 4, how to write the evaluation, conclusion, and also the last little section about recommendations for your future training. There will be one more video after this on how to do your appendices, okay? That will come out real soon because it's pretty much finished. What you're going to look at is you're going to analyse what affected your progress and what did you do during your programme that made you progress, or what could you have done better to increase that progress. Because remember, it's all right not to achieve your SMART target as long as you justify it. So ensure you keep linking this evaluation to your fitness and performance target. Keep mentioning all about your targets, both fitness and your sporting performance. Give examples from your training on how you use the principles of training. So go into your training logs, the sheets. How did you apply that? Actually reference them. Say which sheet it was on, what the date was, the appendix that you've labelled it as. Show where you've used principles of training, progressive overload, specificity, FITT. In week 3, I used progressive overload to increase the time I trained for and the intensity I trained at. You can see from appendix 3, Strava printout, I increased the time I ran for by 5 minutes and the intensity increased as I now was running at 4 minutes 50 a kilometre compared to previously 5 minutes a kilometre during my continuous training. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for, to show the examiner you know what the principles of training are and how you use them, and that you use them at about the right levels. If you did circuit training, you could adapt that. So you could say in circuit training, I would have made more rapid progress if I'd reduced my rest time from 30 seconds to 3 during week 3 instead of week 5. So this person's saying they delayed reducing the rest time. Maybe if they'd done that sooner, they would have made more progress. So they're being critical of themselves, and that's absolutely fine. Being critical of yourself shows really good evaluation. Then you're kind of going to adapt it. So in circuit training, I swapped this station for this station. It might be you looked at what you were doing after 2 or 3 weeks. You decided one station really wasn't going to help you achieve your targets, so you brought another one in. Sometimes in circuits, we look at doing a rotation of legs, arm, core. Now, if your focus is purely legs, then your circuit training can be focused purely on legs as long as you justify that. So you can swap things around. You can say you've made mistakes. You can say one station might be better now than another. Okay, that's absolutely fine. How did you apply rest and recovery? Was it effective? Was it the right amount of rest and recovery? If you got injured during your program, this is really important because it does happen. So if you were injured and missed 2 weeks, state that. Explain how that affected your training. I spoke last time about maybe going back a session, starting again, and then a progressing overload upwards, okay? Now, heart rate graphs. You do not have to do these heart rate graphs unless you're doing kind of cardiovascular fitness, maybe muscular endurance, because they're really important for CV fitness because they're going to show if you worked in your training zone, they're going to show your recovery rate, they're going to show resting heart rate and reducing, hopefully, and you can show that in graphical form. Now, I've also made how to make these graphs, a video on how to make these graphs. You can check that out. Use Excel to create these line graphs and bar graphs. So you can use the video, you can create your bar graphs for your other tests. The line graphs are great for heart rate graphs. You can write about resting heart rate going down. And I'll put a link there, and I'll put that also into the description below, and you can go and get some of the effects of exercise. I also have a video on that. You can check that out as well. I'll put that here too, on the effects of exercise, or the things that are going to change in your body due to the personal exercise program. Okay, but that bite-sized link's excellent for this. There's no need to focus on this if you're doing speed, power, muscular strength. Heart rate graphs are not as important. You could use them maybe for speed if you're looking at anaerobic threshold training, okay, to see if you're working in the right training zone, particularly if you're wearing a heart rate monitor. So if you're wearing maybe an Apple Watch or a Garmin watch that actually records your workout heart rate, they already have graphs on, and you can screenshot them and put them in your appendices too. That's perfect. Analyze recovery rates, okay? Particularly if you're doing CV fitness, after training for the next 5 or 6 minutes, check each minute to see how your heart rate's going down and do a graph for that. Over time, we should see a more rapid decrease in recovery. So you're showing quicker recovery. That shows progress. So if you're working heart rate, you want between 60 and 80% if you're doing cardiovascular endurance. If you're doing speed and power, you want it in the next threshold above that. Okay, you're going to find your 60 to 80%. And then you're going to talk about that. Maybe there was a period or a few sessions where you didn't get into that 60%. That could be a reason you didn't make the right amount of progress. Maybe you're above the 80%, so therefore you're not working on cardiovascular endurance, you're now working on speed. Okay, make sure you're in the right target zone. And if you're not, you can talk about that. You can explain why that might have an impact, good or bad. If over the weeks your heart rate, working heart rate goes down, this is a bad thing. Okay, your resting heart rate should go down, your working heart rate should stay in that 60 to 80% if you're doing CV fitness. Okay, now the reason for that is if it's not in 60%, you're probably not working at a high enough level of intensity. And so you've got to increase that intensity to get into that 60%. Okay, you're getting fitter, therefore you have to increase the intensity to reach 60%. Never say in your project, I had to try harder or I should have tried harder to improve. That's just a really bad sentence. You need to give evidence. So you'd need to say, I should have increased the pace of my continuous training. I should have increased the weight during my weight training. Okay, they're the kind of things you have to say. Physiological changes. Now use the technical terms for GCSE PE, particularly for Edexcel. Include some of these where relevant, okay, and talk about the evidence. So for example, if your resting heart rate goes down over the 6 weeks, and you can do a graph for that, say why it would have gone down. So you can use things like your stroke volume's increased, your cardiac output is increased, you've gone into left ventricular hypertrophy, okay, or cardiac hypertrophy. Say those terms. So for cardiovascular fitness, say cardiac hypertrophy, larger heart muscle. Capillarization, increased capillaries in the lungs and the muscles of the body. Stroke volume and cardiac output are going to go up. Increased red blood cell count. You're going to say type 1 muscle fibers for aerobic respiration. Now, if you're doing power, you can look at the type 2A and type 2X muscle fibers, and we call that muscle fiber recruitment, and you can talk about that, how they've improved through your training, what effects you've seen. Have you now got more speed, more power? That would say that those muscle fibers have got better. Has your sergeant jump improved? That means type 2X muscle fibers have got better. Now, this last part is kind of tied onto your evaluation. You're going to do a conclusion. You're going to maybe sum up the key parts that went well in your project, the key parts that maybe should have changed to make better progress, or if you didn't reach a target, that would have made you reach that target. Some of it might be a little bit of repetition, but you've got to really focus on that part. Avoid too much repetition because it's word count. And then the very last bit is recommendations for like future training programs. So highlight the biggest reasons for success or failure, okay? Highlight the principles of training that went really well. Maybe your choices at the start, were they correct? Were the stations in your circuit training, were they incorrect or correct? And how has it improved your sport? Go back to your sporting target. From your sporting target, what has improved? How much did that improve by? Really focus on that sport and how it's improved. Could you have made more progress? You could say, I would have made more progress or rapid progress if in week 5 I'd done this, or if I've included this, or include the frequency of my training. So reduce my rest days and done more training sessions. Be critical. You can highlight your own errors because that shows excellent evaluation of what you're doing. We don't always get this perfect. What could have gone better? What could you have done better? Okay, be critical. Then the last part is this recommendations for the future. What will you focus on next? Will it be a different type of fitness? Will it be a different performance aim? What kind of training would you do for that? how are you going to maybe use the principles of training for that from what you've learned in this program. Okay, I hope that helped. That's part 4 done. Look out for part 5, which will be on the appendices. Check out the video on how to make your heart rate graphs and bar graphs for your other fitness tests. Check out some of the other videos to help you along with your revision, and good luck.